welcome to the Gaia update for the Leo solar eclipse that happens on August 11th, 2018. I'm Adrienne Elise. Well, this is the last eclipse while the North Node is still in Leo. And it's incredibly potent. Even though this is a partial solar eclipse, the astrology around this and the placement within the cycle of eclipses makes this an incredibly potent new moon in Leo, a new birth of the Leo energy. If we can take it, if we can accept it, if we can move in to our light and allow ourselves to shine. So what's coming up in the astrology, there's a lot of square aspects, meaning tension, 90-degree angles. This is like you're at the end of the road and you cannot keep going the way you're going. And it can be frustrating and it can feel intense. So there's a lot of intensity going on. But these squares are mostly with our personal planets, our day-to-day reality. This is the big changes energetically in the whole cosmos is landing home into our daily personal life. But we also have some very harmonious aspects happening in the bigger picture. So the key to everything right now is to try to step back, use this Aquarius energy, this Uranus energy to see the bigger picture of what's going on. And if you can't really see it, just know that it's there, that there's a bigger reason why we're going through what we're going through right now. We are at this pinnacle of shift and change in our consciousness, in our reality, and we are trying to land a whole new vibrational paradigm into our own reality without having a big change in, like, having a catastrophe on the planet. We're trying to do this harmoniously, and we've chosen this. We've chosen to take our physical reality as we see it and gradually and sometimes dramatically adjust it to be able to host these new energies. So how are we doing it? This is why you're on the planet, to hold space for a new paradigm and for a new energy, and to create in your own energetic bubble the possibility of this positive change. But it doesn't look so positive and it doesn't feel so positive right now. But that's where we need to just tap into the trust within us and knowing that this is a way bigger story than what we're seeing just right in front of our eyes right now. And that, as a metaphor, is true for who we are. We are so much bigger than what this limited 3D reality can really allow for us, especially because we've gotten trapped and bogged down in karmic patterns of our ancestors, our own past lives of persecution or whatever we've gone through. And this is what's coming up right now. This is we had a very potent and powerful solar eclipse last year, total solar eclipse in Leo, and now we're having another solar eclipse in Leo. And even though it's partial, it's kind of far away from the nodes, it is the last eclipse of this entire cycle. So we've been doing this for a whole year, and really for a whole eon, because it's all speaking to moving into the Aquarian age and doing things completely differently. So we're trying to take our reality as it is and turn it on its head, and do that in a harmonious way that doesn't cause so much disruption. And so that's where we come in, and that's where you come in holding your light. And it might not be easy right now with everything that you're going through, and remember that is why you're here. That so what's happening is, in order to land this new vibration and this new paradigm, we've got to have a massive karmic purge. And so it's like all of the stuff that you have not been able to address because your soul wasn't quite ready for many, many lifetimes is now coming up for review. And it feels like a tornado. It feels just like so much happening on this energetic level. And the problem with it is that it's unexplainable. We're getting triggered in our everyday reality, but what's really trying to change is deep-seated patterns in our psyche. And so what's really coming up for us right now, and what the stars are saying, is that with this North Node, we have just a few more months left of this North Node in Leo. And so we're having an activation into this Leo energy. And now that the sun is in Leo and the moon in Leo for this lunar, or for the solar eclipse, this is our Leo activation. This is when we can step through to the truth of who we really are. So Leo is ruled by the sun, and it represents the true light of our soul and what we really came here to do, what we want to shine, our creative expression in this lifetime. So few of us have been able to get to this point of being able to really express the gifts of what we came for. And it's funny how we get so caught up in trying to appease the belief systems and the patterns and the paradigm that we live in, meaning that you have to prove yourself, you have to get a whole bunch of education, you have to have other people say that you are an expert, and yet who you are in the light of your soul is already an expert. Who you are has gone through so much over many evolutions and lifetimes to prepare for this moment right now, and we're being called upon to release into this truth of who we are, to shine the soul light of the gifts that we have accumulated over eons and bring them to the planet right now. And yet there's so much karmic baggage that's in the way of us being who we really are and expressing our light and our truth. And so this is where we get the tension. So a big part of the tension that we're feeling right now has to do with the fact that Mars is in square with Uranus. Now this is the second, now we know Mars is retrograde, and so this is the second square that will have a third square as it comes out of shadow in October. And so right now we're having the second hit of this very potent and powerful square. That's that tension. Now Mars is the physical body. It's our male part of ourselves. It's the warrior. It's the get up and go and make something happen. And yet in the Aquarian age, we need to come together in the male and the female balance between ourselves. And we need to be able to not just go break down and create what we want, but we need to co-create with the universe, use the feminine way of creating, which is allowing the universal energies to line up, the timing to line up, the gifts to come through. When we're so busy trying through our ego to make things happen in our life, we aren't open and receptive to the support of the universe that's trying to come through. And that's a big message around exactly what's going on right now. And so it's not that we don't want to be warriors, though. We need to stand up and fight, but in a completely different way. And that's what this Mars retrograde is about. It's what's the fight, what's the how do you make things happen in the Aquarian age? And it's a mystery. And it's a mystery for all of us. We all have our individual way of doing it. And that's part of the magic of the Aquarian age. But that's exactly what the stars are telling us right now with the North Node in Leo, is that you got to shine. You can't wait for somebody else to come and validate you or tell you you're doing it right, or, give you the golden ticket to get to where you want to go. You have to decide that it's okay, and it's your birthright, and it's your glory time. This is, the Leo has the archetype of like the king and the queen of the royalty, of shining on that level, being the authority in your life in the true essence. This is a positive aspect of Leo, is the true essence of who you really are. These are the gifts and skills and magic that you came in with. Nothing anybody needs to validate for you, and nothing you need to go to school for. And yet, what's keeping us from really activating these gifts and really bringing them forward? Because so few on the planet are. And that's exactly what the stars are saying, is that if you want to move into the Aquarian age and have this great balance of a more beautiful and harmonious society, then you better shine your light. You better bring who you are here to planet Earth. Except for the indigo souls, crystal seeds, these light workers that you are, have all been programmed through persecution and trauma in past lives, and that often plays through in early childhood stuff in this life. that has created subconscious fear around this and lack of permission. And it's been, for lifetimes, it's safer and easier to just play small and deny who you really are. And that's no longer working, and that's what's creating this incredible tension in the internal psyche of our landscape and the collective consciousness. And so this Mars square Uranus is saying, hey, these new energies are trying to land. Uranus is retrograde now too, so they're both retrograde, and it's both like, they're both saying, hey, we're trying to move forward, we're trying to land a new paradigm, but it's like we're going backwards. It's this feeling of like being stuck in an eddy in the creek, and like the water is just rushing by, and here you are going in circles. And that's kind of the feeling that's going on, but it's not really true. You cannot stop the change that's happening right now on the psyche and the soul, and that's really what's causing the tension. So relax, release, let go, surrender to the process, and the key here being allowing yourself to be who you really are and allowing yourself to shine. The biggest karmic debt we need to pay is to ourselves, where we have had condemnation towards ourselves that's kept us from feeling like we have permission to be who we really are and to shine our light and to bring forward our truth. Now, this has been kind of the whole point of our patriarchal domination energies on the planet, the control energies on the planet for thousands of years. And so we're having a whole bunch of this come forward with all these planets in Capricorn right now, and that's the deal. Mars goes back into Capricorn on the 12th, the day after this solar eclipse. And so we're going back into and kind of knowing that the 2020 astrology with all this Capricorn energy, like what is it about? What does Mars have to go back into Capricorn to figure out how to move forward? It's about authority is the key word for Capricorn. And we have allowed ourselves to buy into this outside authority. The reason why there's so much self-condemnation as souls is because we bought into this idea that there's somehow this force out there that's more powerful than us that is going to punish us. So it's hard not to get into victim consciousness and feel like, oh, everything's working against me. And it's true, there's lots and lots of forces working against our evolution. If you're on the path of ascension, the closer you get to breaking through to those next levels of consciousness, the more pressure, the more resistance, the more feeling effed with in this world is going to come up. And so we're looking at this Capricorn energy as we move into the 2020 astrology, and that's where we really start the Aquarian age, and it's a new way, a new authoritarian energy on the planet, meaning our own authority as sovereign souls, and that nothing that's happened to us is something that we weren't complicit in because of our maybe we were programmed, but our belief systems on a deep subconscious level that we somehow deserve this persecution. We somehow deserve this poverty. We somehow deserve this punishment from God. And yet, who is God? We are God. And so we've got to stop this whole paradigm within each of us and our individual self and come into our own sovereignty and our own authority. And so that's kind of what's coming up right now. A lot of feelings with this Mars moving back into Capricorn of like, I'm never going to win. There's always going to be something working against me. I'm not getting anywhere. And actually we are like plowing through loads of karma that's been stacked up over lifetimes because our soul wasn't quite ready to deal with it. And so you know what? It's not easy. And it feels really intense, and it feels like, what's the point, and why am I even going through this? Because I don't even remember where this all started. And yet because the veil is so thin right now, we're being like transported to these past lives and past experiences in our psyche, and experiencing, being triggered in this life, but feeling the pain and a visceral, perhaps physical, or very strong emotional and psychic pain of things that happened to us and we experienced and were part of a long time ago, and yet there is no time. And so it's right here, right now, but we don't have the tools in our consciousness to really be able to understand what's going on. But if you can, again, keep that message from the planets, that the harmony is in the bigger picture. The harmony is stepping back and seeing that this is all a play, and this is the movie, this is the dream, and who we really are, with or without a body, is the real deal. That's the reality. And so, but we're really stuck in it now with all of these transits going on. So now this sun and the moon come together on new moons. So we've got the sun and the moon in Leo. And the other thing about this eclipse is that Pallas Athene is right there, just a few degrees away, or 1 degree away, in Leo. And Pallas Athene is an asteroid goddess that represents diplomatic solutions to things. Like, we can talk it through, we can use our minds and not have to fight each other to be able to come up with a solution that is going to work for all of us. And so again, what is the solution that the universe is pointing to with the sun and the moon and Pallas Athene and Mercury retrograde in Leo? The solution is shining our light and being our true self, and bringing forward who we really are, regardless of what kind of pain we've gone through around this, and regardless of whether or not anybody is going to validate it for us in this life, in this reality right now. And the true satisfaction, the true way forward, is claiming this true self and shining through these cosmic spiritual gifts that we have developed over many lifetimes. So we've got the sun and Mercury in a conjunction, and Pallas Athene as well at the time of this new moon. So the deal is, though, is that right before this new moon, as these planets were coming up into to the position of this solar eclipse, they all are making a square with Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is in Scorpio, and it's direct now. And so we've got Mercury direct, Mars direct, Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Uranus retrograde, all of these planets retrograde, all our action planets, making us feel like that feeling, you know, a lot of energies compounding right now, feeling like just don't even bother, you're not getting anywhere, this is a waste of a lifetime, you know, just like don't even bother with it, like you're gonna lose again, you know, you're never going to succeed, and those feelings are coming up. That's the deeper insecurities that are around our Leo self, our deeper insecurities that are telling us that we'll never be good enough, you know, and all of that stuff, all of the negative thinking goes back to this, what we're trying to clear before we can move into the Aquarian age, is the distortion of Capricorn that says that there's some authority out there that gets to tell us whether we're good enough. And it's like we all have to stop kind of figuring out if we're good enough to shine our light, because like we are our light, like that's who we are. It's not whether we're good or bad or like ready or not. It's like the light's landing home and our true path is landing home, and so it's like we've got to get over it, and that's where we get to this karmic purge that's happening right now. So with the sun and the moon and Mercury and Pallas Athene all together in Leo, you know, Mercury is retrograde, and Mercury is always about our conception, our mind, our way of seeing things, our perspective, our ability to make sense of our everyday reality. And so Mercury also brings us information. It's the messenger, information that can assimilate down into our everyday reality. And so Mercury retrograde conjunct the sun and the moon in Pallas Athene says some strong messages around this this truth that we have to bring our light home and live our truth and shine our life and bring our gifts to this planet if we're ever going to get anywhere. And so then squaring up with Jupiter's in Scorpio going direct now, kind of bringing this other energy, because Jupiter's a big, strong, amplifying energy like a crystal, and so it's moving direct, and it's kind of leading the way in this kind of quagmire that we're in right now, and it has to do with the shadow. So everything that's going on right now is about what is in the way, what have you bought into, what kind of traumas from the past, programming, karma is keeping you from shining your light and being who you really are. What is in the way? And Jupiter says, we might want to look under the rug or in the closet. You know, we might need to go into the shadow, and basically being like, you know, the message is like, we can't move forward without landing our light and bringing forward the gifts of who we really are, the reason why we exist. And yet we can't do that unless we're willing to face the shadow and get rid of everything that's holding us back. And all of that, all of the shadow work and all of the clearing, all of that has to do with forgiveness. And it's like forgiving those who have persecuted us, forgiving those who have hurt us, you know, and that's easier said than done. And the key there is that we can't forgive anybody until we forgive ourselves. And that is this core energy that's coming up, is where you're going to find it. You know, nobody is getting away without finding these energies of regret and guilt and grief on the past, and I should have done this and I could have done better, and why did I waste those lifetimes? I mean, we're talking like what you did yesterday, and we're talking what you did thousands of years ago, and it's all coming up, and a big bloom. But guess what? Like, that's the key. Jupiter is saying this square, it's another tension, right? And it's like, you cannot go any further until you face the shadow. That's where we're kind of, what's going on in the collective consciousness too, is that there's a lot of secrets about the control energies and the people we've trusted as authorities in our life and in our politics, and they have not done right by us. And we are kind of like, la, 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 let's just go forward. Let's just not look at it. And it's like, because it's painful. It's painful to look at the truth of how poorly we've allowed ourselves to be treated. And it's like we're in a narcissistic, abusive relationship with the power control energies on the planet, which manifest in our financial system and with our political systems and all of the systems of our world. And so we're like in this kind of uncomfortable place of like, you know, these retrogrades and then Jupiter square. It's like, can't go back, can't go forward, you know. So it's a feeling of being kind of stuck, but at the same time, so much is energetically shifting. So the key to what's going on right now is knowing that there's this incredible squeeze. There's these really dark feelings coming up. There's a bunch of old karma coming up of stuff that just feels so intense and it doesn't make sense with what's going on right now, triggered from the past. But the key to all of it is, one of the things that's going to really help is to know that things are really shifting fast. So it's like there's intensity, really intense karmic purge moments, but they don't last long. You know, so it's like, get out of the way of it. Like, don't be in resistance. Don't hold on to how you're feeling, because you're going to be feeling differently in a little while. And so just like, oh, here comes that karmic purge. Whoa, you know, pay attention, observe it, see that it's happening, but don't make it who you are. This is kind of where we got stuck for thousands of years. We made this dark shadow energy of humanity's experience the definition of who we are, and that's why we're in a massive purge right now. And so just keep that bigger perspective. It's way bigger, and know that the energies are quickly coming and squeezing, and you know, it's like we're having these contractions. This is like a birth, because we're having our last Leo new moon of this North Node in Leo, and we're going through these contractions, and then, you know, it will pass away. You know, it's just these feelings will come, but they'll also leave as quickly as they come if we don't get attached to it and just kind of get out of the way and observe the process and know that we're so much bigger than what's happening to us right now. And there's so much more than what we see with our eyes and experience in this reality. And just those things are the medicine of this time right now. So the other thing that's happening is that Venus has moved into Libra. And Venus is at home in Libra. Venus loves being in Libra. It makes Venus exalted or very strong. And so with Venus in Libra, we're looking at, Libra wants beauty and love and fairness and harmony. And so we're really kind of looking at, why can't we where is that in this world? Is it even possible anymore? You know, because what we're being shown is just big chaotic mess, you know. And so this desire, now Venus also rules our self-worth, and so that's where we're really coming up here around, like, humanity needs to decide whether we deserve to have harmony and peace and beauty and a positive way to grow. You know, can we grow through positive experiences, or do we, and through grace, or do we need to be stuck in the karmic patterns repeating over and over again? And so because Venus has moved into Libra, it is making a square with Saturn in Capricorn. And so here's the other square. It's like, oh, end of the road, you know, you can't go any further and you're stuck. And the end of the road here is, again, with Saturn in Capricorn, at home in Capricorn. It's speaking to this energy of authority. Are we willing to have enough self-worth to know that we can govern ourselves, that we can be our own spiritual autonomy, that we don't need this punishing God anymore, that we don't need this idea that there's something force out there working against us, keeping us, which is true, but still we are complicit on some level to the forces that are working against us. We've decided that we want to use those forces to have our spiritual evolution. The problem is that those forces got so strong and so powerful that they've kept us from evolving spiritually for thousands of years, and it's kind of like getting very, very old, right? And so it's like the more this pattern has gone on of being repressed and oppressed and held down, basically the earth has been in a purgatory. The earth has been in a prison, cut off from the cosmic forces of light and love. I mean, they're there. They can't go anywhere. And they're within us, right? So maybe this is all happening so we can find that light of God within us and know that, you know, we can forgive ourselves and love ourselves for everything we've been through, because this is a spiritual evolution and we're doing it through a human body. But it's not about what's happening right here as much as a reflection of what's happening on the spiritual plane. And so this energy of Capricorn is coming up to the foreground and really kind of asking us whether or not we can find it within ourselves, humanity as a whole, to know that it's okay to move beyond this pain and suffering and this learning, karmic learning. The only way to learn is through suffering and pain. And, you know, that's fine for a while, but then, you know, we've got, you know, it's like we're just stuck, and we got to move beyond this to this cosmic grace energy and be able to let the you know, kind of break, each of us individually break through this quarantine that the planet has been in and reach up and feel that cosmic energy, our higher self. You know, so it's like the cosmic connections of the planet have been blocked and held down and suppressed, so that we have to go through religious entities or some sort of authoritarian energy to get what we need in this life. And now we each individually have to come out of the prison of this reality and reach up and receive back the blessings of our higher self and our connection to our higher self. And if you can kind of step back and be like, wait, that must be why all this is happening. And I'm just going to be present, and I'm going to open up, and I'm going to love myself and forgive myself enough to receive the blessings of who I really am, and start having that satisfaction of bringing the gifts that you are, the gift that you are through your gifts into this realm, and shining your light. And you know, the deal with this new moon eclipse is your portal into this the Leo North Node activation that we have been gifted. And it's been happening, but we haven't really been feeling it. Sometimes, a lot of times in astrology, we'll have the influence will happen, but it doesn't really hit home until later. And it's almost like we started this all North Node in Leo and Leo eclipses last summer with that powerful total solar eclipse. And now we're finally feeling the actual effect of that in our life. And so this is a time at this eclipse to be able to step through into a new reality. Now, so we've got all these difficult squares. You've got Mars square Uranus. We've got Jupiter square the Sun and Mercury and Pallas Athene and the Moon. We've got Venus square Saturn. But we also have these bigger picture energies, like Saturn is in a trine with Uranus. And Saturn, so this is saying that like Uranus is like out there information. Like it's information that we can't really access. It's the higher octave of Mercury in a way, and it's kind of like Mercury is our everyday, day-to-day understanding, and then Uranus is like kind of the bigger truth that can come through in lightning bolt flashes or synchronicities, you know. And so Saturn there in Capricorn, trying to work out this whole authority business and where we've given our power away, is in a harmonious trine with Uranus. And so that's saying that, hey, you know, the truth of the real bigger picture is going to help us do this and build this new world. Now, we've had this trine before, but they were in fire signs, and now they're in earth signs. It's about landing at home into this reality, into our physical reality, bringing a higher vibrational paradigm into where we see it, where our world starts having more harmonious solutions and more love and more support, and hey, let's take care of each other, and hey, let's make this a better world, and let's love the earth, and let's release all of this distortion and this loop of pain and suffering that's kept us in this deep grief and pain that keeps repeating over and over again. So that's really, really helpful. And then we also have Jupiter, even though it's in that square with the Sun and Mercury and the Moon and Pallas, it's also in a trine with Neptune. And Neptune is that spiritual connection. It's like, whoa, way out there, something bigger than in here. And we can tap into that. This is the cup, the blessings that want to come through. It's also can rule, you know, energies of delusion and fantasy, and I can't quite trust what's going on. And so this is a beautiful harmonizing thing, because it's like, it's telling us that Jupiter in direct in Scorpio there is in this beautiful trine with Neptune, and is saying you can trust. You can trust God. You can trust your higher self. You can trust in this bigger picture. But we got to wade through the shadow to do that. The shadow is about confusing us and keeping us from being able to see clearly. And now we can go under the shadow. The shadow is the shadow side of Scorpio, but Scorpio also has this like raw power. The shadow kind of guards over the raw, physical, kundalini, sexual power of the universe. And it's like we can release all of the stories of shame and guilt and power and domination and control and persecution and pain and suffering that's been going on the planet, and kind of like, hey, whoa, we don't resonate with those stories anymore, and we can trust that there's a bigger plan and a bigger universal love that's available to all of us right here, right now, by our birthright. And so that's a beautiful harmonizing energy, and all of it speaks to releasing these distortions and the shadow and the karma and the loop of destruction, and moving into building a new world. And then Venus is coming in and saying, yeah, but do we deserve it? You know, do you deserve harmony? Or are you kind of attached? You know, are you kind of like, your identity, is it attached to these traumas and sufferings? Like, who would you be without it, right? So it's just a big shakedown right now, and it's kind of like, it feels like this new moon eclipse is like a culmination of this whole year of astrology, and it's like we're having this massive activation, and we have to integrate. So the fall is going to be where things kind of calm down in a way astrologically, but where we kind of get the messages and we start to integrate what's really happened in this time. And so it's a strange time, because with all this retrograde, we can't really go forward, but stuff's happening so fast in this karmic purge, and we're like being forced to let go of our purgatory and of our prison. And yet, do we have anything to catch us? You know, like, do we have anything, you know, so it's like, that's where that Jupiter trine Neptune comes in. It's just like, of like letting this universal spirit energy, the source, the love, who we are and what everything that, you know, the whole point of all of this is to grow this and to be conscious of this cosmic love and to just let that into our lives. So the deal with trines, squares just happen to you, right? Like you kind of have to deal with the energy, and we all have to deal with it. But trines are harmonious, but you kind of have to take advantage of it. And that's where this energy of like, oh, we're landing a new paradigm. Oh, this is a karmic purge. Oh, this isn't the dream. And I'm going to step out of the dream into reality of who I really am. And I might not even make sense, but there's just a part of me that knows there's a bigger picture, and shit's weird right now, and I'm just gonna try to be present with it. You know, in the present moment is when we can receive these blessings. And so sometimes life pushes you, forces you into the present moment, and sometimes we keep running and we keep, you know, it's like, no, I'm just feeling all this, you know, and it's just like, no, this, you know, this is an opportunity to come right home right now and know that this is who you really are, and this moment is who you really are, and your light is trying to land home, and just be right there right now, and just let whatever's happening around you happen and observe, but pull yourself out of the drama and into your center. And at the same time, also, you know, just trusting in that bigger picture. So there's something really interesting also happening that it's kind of a little bit of a wide sextile right now, but between Pluto and Neptune, they're in a sextile, meaning that that's like the next sign over, not the next one, but the next one. So it's like Pluto is in Capricorn and Neptune's in Pisces, and it's a little bit of a wide angle there. But what happens when there is a sextile on one side of the zodiac and then a planet in the center of those two on the other side? It's called a yod. And so because the moon and the sun and Mercury and Pallas Athena are all crossing over this point, kind of coming together, this point, it's literally a point. Like, that's the power of this eclipse, is it's a point. It's a portal, and it's about, like, can you go into the point? Can you go into still point? That'll be a big part of the activation. I hope you can join me on Friday at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for this activation. But we're going to go into that point. We're going to go into that quiet place within all of us and use this portal to our advantage to step through into that true permission to be who we really are and land our gifts home on planet Earth and release all the karmic stories that are different, that say differently. And so it's really interesting. So all that planetary configuration of the sun and the moon and Mercury and Pallas Athene are on the point of this yod. And the yod is called the finger of God. And it has to do with people who have a yod in their chart have come in with a very deliberate lifetime. And the whole point of the lifetime is to get into touch with their higher self. And what that means is that lots of obstacles, but understanding that the obstacles are leading you to that connection to your higher self. So it's a feeling of being separated and lost and alone on some level, but because the only guidance you can access is your true higher self. And that can be a hard road, but a very rewarding road. And this is just kind of a sign of our times right now with this yod happening in the sky. It's a destiny. It's a finger of God. It's pointing the destiny. Where is the destiny pointing? It's to this Leo. It's saying you got to be who you are. You can't go forward. You can't spiritually evolve and keep denying who you are as a soul spirit and your gifts and your skills and everything. The thing is, I've seen a lot of indigo souls and starseeds and like light workers have these incredible gifts that they've developed over lifetimes that will come through in past life readings or in the astrology chart. And they're like, there's this programming around it that something traumatic happened around that, and then they're like, no, I'm never going to do that again. And the thing is like, you can throw away karma and you can get rid of karma and you can get rid of distortion and totally reprogram, but you cannot throw away your gifts of who you are. That's the biggest faux pas spiritually that you could possibly do, is try to deny God that within you, your divine gifts. And here we are being like, oh, no, I think I'll just play small and stay safe. And of course, that's understandable because it's been lifetimes of programming and trauma and things like this. But you cannot get rid of that gift. And if you are not using that gift, it's going to eat you up inside, and it's going to make you sick, and it's going to make you depressed. And so now is the time to step through the portal and receive who you really are and make a commitment. Not waiting for the world to be ready for who you are, and not waiting for the outside forces to validate you or give you some sort of piece of paper to say it's okay, but to just own it and be who you really are. And so the interesting thing about this yod, besides the point of the yod, the finger of God is pointing towards this place in the Leo place where all this is happening, right? And that's between, the other points of the yod, of the other side, is that Pluto in Capricorn. So we're talking about power structures and breaking down of power structures, and then Neptune in Pisces, realigning with our true cosmic purpose of the fact that we are cosmic beings, that there's a whole nother world out there that we've been quarantined from and kept from and deluded into thinking that it's like some authority that we need approval from and rewards and punishment. All that is being dissolved, and the key of this yod is that being willing to receive your light and your gifts and let them come forward in this lifetime, against all the supposed obstacles. Now, there's a really important part of the whole yod thing, and this is the release point, and this is the point that's exactly between the sextile. And interestingly enough, this would be in the same area. It's around 18 degrees of Aquarius, opposite where this solar eclipse happens. And so we're being pointed back to the Aquarian age, and that we're doing all of this to bring in a new paradigm. And so when Mars makes it back to this point, which I'm not sure exactly when that happens, I think it's October, at the end of October, that's when we're going to kind of get the clarity on all of what we're going through right now. So we still have a few months of like Mars coming out of shadow and coming, when it comes to the release point of this yod that's happening right now, and that's also very close to when the North Node moves into Cancer, and a whole new chapter is going to start, and a whole new platform, a whole new level of existence. So for those of us who are willing and ready to be present right now with what's happening and step through this Leo solar eclipse portal and receive the blessings of who we really are, come into that God point within us and release these shadow stories from the past, then you're looking at the next level, baby. You're looking at taking it to the next place, and it should be a very exciting fall where we begin to see actual manifestations of all of our hard work over many lifetimes. But right now we got to do the work to stay present and stay focused and know that we're just going through the eye of the needle, and it's intense, but there's a bigger purpose, a bigger reason. And when you move past this place and begin to anchor in these new energies really in your being, life becomes lighter and freer and more fun and more beautiful, and it's like you're living that harmony that's possible for all of us. And so that's the message of what's trying to happen right here, right now. So I hope you can join me for this activation on this Leo solar eclipse. And the solar eclipse happens early in the morning around 4 a.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. So we're going to do it about 12 hours ahead of time to lead into exactly the 12 hours ahead. So at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, that's going to be 2 p.m. on the West Coast and 5 p.m. on the East Coast, and that will be a live activation. If you can't make the live activation, go ahead and sign up and you can immediately get the replay, because this energy will be encoded. Your questions will be answered with your intention to join as the channeled messages come through and address your intention to be a part of this powerful portal. So that way you can kind of catch the replay anytime in this next 24 to 48 hours from the live activation through this eclipse, and still get this potent activation to move through this eye of the needle in the middle of the storm. So I hope you'll consider joining me. That's $10, and you can just catch the replay as you need it if you can't make the live event, but the information to sign up is in the information box below, the link to sign up. So have a great eclipse, and know that we are here to be the eye of the storm, to be the calm, to be the knowing that what we're going through is incredibly positive and beautiful, and even though it doesn't feel that way, but you know, just be centered, be there with yourself, and know, and let that light come through, and let these energies work in your life in the most positive way by just being present. So thank you so much for tuning in and showing up on planet Earth right here, right now, and being willing to go through all of this to bring home your light and your gifts. Mother Earth is so ready to work with all of us moving into this new paradigm. And so I look forward to seeing you on the activation, or until next time, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.